What is the biggest problem our country is currently facing? Rick Crawford.
Certainly we all talk about deficit, debt, but one of the biggest things I think is being overlooked is the unfunded liabilities that exist. That's the compounding of the debt and the deficit and all of those programs that we haven't implemented but have not funded. And so as I mentioned in my opening comments, $56.5 trillion in unfunded liabilities. So how do we move forward? Well, Congress enacts a brand new entitlement program that we cannot pay for. And so they continue to spend your money. And I would tell you they're spending money like drunk sailors, but drunk sailors spend their own money. They're spending your money. And so what we need to do is call on the political class and reel in that spending. As I said before, we've got to put a stop to it. We've got to dig ourselves out of the hole. We've got to make sure we never fall back in the hole again. So I'm a proponent of a balanced budget amendment. And I'm a constitutional conservative, but I think we need to amend the Constitution to force Congress to act fiscally prudent.
Without a doubt, the biggest issue is the economy. Spending is out of control, as you hear everyone saying over and over again. I want to cite a few examples, and I don't think there'll be too many fans of these big pieces of overreaching legislation that have passed. One, people are talking about the financial regulatory reform bill that's going to put permanent bailouts for Wall Street. Before that, we did TARP, and right after that, we did the bailout the stimulus bill in 2009. All of these pieces of overreaching legislation do nothing for small business owners. And people always say, why are Republicans always screaming about small business owners? Well, for one, I believe as a legislator, I should promote bills that favor people who create jobs. I'm a proponent of putting money back into the hands of the American people and letting them spend it, letting the free market run its course. And so it's not that I'm in favor of the rich man or the big business guy, but it's what are we doing to actually create jobs? That is, number one, the biggest problem, and then every other piece of legislation and issue falls under that category, the economy. Thank you.
I think I'm going to make an assumption about the answer to the question, so my question is twofold. Number one, do you think the federal government is too big? And if so, can you name one or more programs that you would propose eliminating if you're elected to Congress? Rick.
Answer to your first question, yes, government's too big. We need to shrink the size of government and expand the free market, create jobs in the context of the free market. What can we do to cut costs? There are a lot of things we can look at. But the first thing I want to look at is an issue that affects us all today, right here in the 1st District of Arkansas. It's not an abstract concept. It's something that's going to run your budget up and cost you more dollars as early as 18 months from today. And that is FEMA's expansion of the flood zone, the remapping of the flood zone in the 1st District of Arkansas to include 19 of the 26 counties. 19 of our 26 counties are going to be forced to buy flood insurance from FEMA. This is a gross overreach of the federal government. And what that's going to do is cost homeowners more money. It's going to cost businesses more money. And we're going to start to see housing starts fall. We're going to start to see the construction industry suffer. And we're going to start to see businesses move from Arkansas as a result. We can work on that issue on day one.
Terry? The federal government is too big. One example of that was the healthcare bill that just passed. Now, I know it just passed, but one of us is going to Congress, and we're going to have to vote on whether or not to fund a lot of these things that they pass. So that's one area. Another one is there are too many agencies that have too much power over regulating, a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy. I think currently there's about 16 agencies that regulate food, for example. That's another example. Particularly and more dear to my heart is education. I think the federal government has entirely too much power over the Department of Education, over the state levels of education. I think that we spend too much money, we chug it down the drain, particularly in the northeast Arkansas, particularly in the Delta. Our schools are failing, and we've seen over and over again that money is not the answer there. So I would definitely cut in those areas.
Do you think that there should be some cuts made there in agriculture at the federal level?
Let me give you a little background on the most recent address to the United States Department of Agriculture budget. The Obama administration at the beginning of the year put forth a budget that called for a 50% cut in the adjusted gross income for farmers, a 25% cut in the direct payment limitations, at the same time expanding the USDA budget by 10%. So what are we doing? We're taking money out of the hands of producers and putting it in the hands of non-producers by expanding an entitlement program. And that hurts our farmers' ability to produce food and fiber. We have the cheapest, safest, most abundant food supply in the world because we support agriculture. But I can make the argument that supporting our farmers is in our national security interests. We're already a net oil importer. We deal with countries that don't like us very much. The minute we become a net food importer, we have conceded our national security to folks who don't like us very much. And so I would also like to add that we need to open up the Cuban markets so that we can get our rice farmers selling more rice.
No, we should make those cuts. There's a lot of things that we can cut before we make cuts to farmers. I'm a proponent of making sure our farmers can remain competitive, particularly family farmers with corporate farmers. I'm definitely a proponent of CRP programs, and I'm a proponent of expanding those programs that help prevent erosion and that help us increase wildlife. All those help our farmers. Give you a little like excuse me. I'm sorry, one of the things I wanted to say also, I haven't heard anyone say this yet, I will definitely ask to be placed on the Agriculture Committee and definitely be an advocate for farmers.
This year's the Employee Free Choice Act, also known as Card Check. It's a piece of federal legislation that's been discussed at length, particularly this last year. If you're elected to Congress, would you support or oppose this possible legislation?
I'm opposed to the measure. I'm definitely a proponent of workers having the right to secret ballot, and I believe that the unions have too much power.
Adamantly oppose the card check. I support the right to a secret ballot. I oppose forced unionization. It's an economy killer, it's a job killer, and we certainly can't afford that at this time in our history.